Have you ever heard the phrase, people don't really care what you know until they know that you care? Well, this saying brings up the concept of empathy. Let's look at a few specifics about empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. But how can we understand and share other people's feelings? It comes down to three ways that we can begin to use empathy. Two of them help us to get our skills in order, and then the third moves us to action. The first way to begin using empathy is called cognitive empathy. This is our ability to know how another person may feel. Cognitive empathy involves putting ourselves in someone else's situation in order to determine how they may feel. We have to get information from the other person in order to cognitively empathize with them. We can do this through observing facial expressions or tone in speech while talking with someone. Perhaps we see someone smiling or laughing. We call up our own feelings of happiness and feel a little bit of that as a response to a smile or laughter. Or we see someone crying and we get the sensation of sadness as a response to their crying. But we don't have to break down in crying also. We just sense the feeling of what it is like to be sad when we see someone crying. We sense what it is like to be happy when we see someone smiling or laughing. We are taking their perspective and allowing it to be, even though it is not our own. But as we make these observations, we get to know our feelings as a template for the feelings of others. This leads us to the second way we use empathy. The second way is called affective empathy. This is the feeling we get in response to another person's feelings. Affective empathy is being able to feel emotions along with others. Affective empathy requires us to embrace our own experiences of emotions and to apply a framework for expecting how others might feel in similar circumstances. The thing to know with affective empathy is you don't have to have the same events that others have in order to empathize with them. You do have to recognize the feelings behind the events. What might sadness feel like for someone who failed at a job interview? Perhaps you've never had a bad interview, but maybe you have experienced the disappointment of failure before. That's where affective empathy for the other person comes into play. How you felt when you experienced failure is greatly connected to how you imagine the other person may feel. In order to use affective empathy, we have to build the skills involved in connecting with our feelings. What do my feelings of happiness feel like? If you feel happy, can you connect your happiness to the event that brought on that feeling? If you feel sad, can you identify the event that brought on that feeling? After building up the practice of connecting the cause and effect meaning behind our emotions, affective empathy becomes possible as we apply those same cause and effect principles to the experiences of others. Finally, these two types of empathy lead us to action, and this is where the third type of empathy happens. It's called compassionate empathy. This is where you combine your ability to use cognitive and affective empathy into a compassionate response. Let's say you're continuing your talk with the person who failed an interview. A compassionate empathy response would be to ask, is there something I can do to help? Sometimes the person may want to talk about it. A compassionate thing to do would be to sit and listen without giving any ways to fix their interview skills. The compassionate thing probably won't be to tell them everything they did wrong. The compassionate empathy response is to listen. A step further in compassionate empathy would be to offer how you felt when you experienced failure. Other examples of compassionate empathy involve helping people where you perceive a need. You could offer to do routine tasks for friends who are unable to do them. You could volunteer at a homeless shelter. Anything that you notice where compassion is missing is fair game to offer a little bit of compassionate empathy. Sometimes the way to show people that you care is just to be there with them. Just hearing you say that you care might be the best way to show that you care.